You'll hear a lot of competitive players talk about not liking the maps in Splatoon 3, and I've gone on record talking about them myself in my stage tier list video. I definitely wasn't very specific about my reasoning though, given how long the video would have been otherwise, and a lot of people have asked for clarification about why I liked certain stages over others for competitive play. Now, I'm not a game designer to the extent that someone like ProChara is, so don't expect me to have a top 17 kits I'd like to see on the GooTuber in future patches, or a new type of level geometry they haven't used that I want to see implemented in stages so far. That's not my forte, in large part because it just doesn't interest me that much, and I'd rather focus on things that interest me rather than debate 37 people in the comments section about why their ideas wouldn't work. But to clarify that video, I've done some thinking and boiled my opinions down to the principles underpinning them, so y'all can understand how I came to those conclusions. Originally, my plan was to just release all of these thoughts as one video, but as they got longer and longer and I realized just how many different things I have to say about this, I decided that I was going to break it up into pieces. So while this was all recorded in one take and it might sound like there are some parts that don't sound quite as conclusive because I'm expecting to move on to the next point, we will be seeing these in pieces and I'll be releasing them as a playlist in the end that you can watch start to finish as soon as everything's edited together. One of the first points that I would like to make that I think really distinguishes good maps from exceptionally poor ones is a good balance between cover and open sightlines. So there are two extremes on this dichotomy between cover and open sightlines. Open sightlines taken to the extreme would be like the void in that one episode of SpongeBob that Squidward finds himself in.
I gotta get out of here!
Just completely flat, completely blank, nothing in the way of anything. In this kind of a map, E-liters would probably be the only viable weapon. Maybe you could sneak a Hydra in there or something, but every weapon would be able to see their opponents coming to such a significant degree that nothing with shorter range would be able to function. It would just get sniped before it ever did get into range, so the E-liters would always win. The opposite of this would be a corn maze. It would be a situation where range is basically never an advantage because anytime that you're in range to hit anything, you're already right next to it because everything is blind corners. So this is what the ambush weapons would love. The Splooshamatics, the rollers, the Luna Blasters, things that have a very, very fast time to kill and thrive on sharking. A good balance between these two that they do tend to be able to find in a lot of Splatoon maps, but have really dropped the ball on a few, is to kind of have open sightlines, but to have enough cover to traverse them, to kind of play red light, green light, where you move to a piece of cover, wait for the charger to fire a shot, and then move to the next piece of cover before they can get a shot ready again. It is a Squid game after all. Now, that said, there are some maps that are absolutely not fine, one of them being Mahi Mahi. This is one of the most egregious cases of this problem that I've ever seen. Mid on this map is borderline untraversable because of this problem. There are 2 pieces of cover total in basically all of mid on Mahi Mahi. Not only that, but you don't really have escape routes once you drop down into mid. So what ends up happening is if you drop down into mid too early, you're stuck on one of these little blocks, and that's the only safe place to be. And if a teammate dropped with you, well, you're both in there behind that little block, and all something has to do is throw a single bomb behind that block, and now one of you is going to get sniped. It's really, really dreadful map design, and I just don't understand how it made it into the final game, frankly. I think it needs a lot of a rework to be a functional middle of the map. That's kind of where I fall on that. I don't think there are many bad offenders to this. Scorched Gorge is probably another one. Scorched Gorge has mid, and then everything else around it is pretty open. to the point where it's really difficult to get around mid or get up mid without getting seen by something like an E-liter. But for the most part, Splatoon has generally handled this pretty well. I think even a map like, say, Hammerhead Bridge has enough of this, even though I don't like that map for other reasons, that it's not so much of a problem there as it is on these two maps in particular, which I think are some of the worst offenders in the entire series of Splatoon. Most of that is fine, I would say, in Splatoon 3. I think that for the most part, the devs did an okay job with that. They probably sided a little bit more on the open sightlines side for a lot of maps. That's part of why E-liter is seeing so much play, but I don't think it's terrible most of the time here.